Hi, good morning. My name is Peter Berry, and today on National Poetry Day, I shall be reading 3 poems from my book. Okay? The first poem. I stand in the eye of my dementia storm, trying to focus on the thoughts that circle me. Faster and faster they twist. As I reach out and grab them, they turn to dust and are gone. And yet I stand in the eye of my dementia storm, safe and calm and happy as always. Poem number 2. Dementia is a rocky, uneven path of treacle that I walk daily. Some days it's thick and sticky, some days soft and smooth, but never sweet or nice tasting. Dementia, the bitter taste in my mouth. Poem number 3. Unpredictable dementia. Some days I walk tall, straight and strong, and other days I am weak, bent over and old, like living with a wild-eyed horse, uncontrollable, unpredictable dementia. Dementia is my nothing, and my nothing is coming towards me.
Hello, and welcome to this presentation of AlzAuthors Live, Poetry for the Dementia Journey. In case you haven't met me before, my name's Mary Ann Shuko, and I'm a co-founder and manager of AlzAuthors. And we are the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. Thank you for sharing some of your precious time with us today. I'd like to introduce you to some of the members of our management team who are with us today. Ann Campanella, who has written 2 books of poetry on her caregiving journey, as well as a memoir called Motherhood Lost and Found. She is helping me to host this event. Say hello, Ann.
Hello, great to see everybody.
And also Jean Lee, a co-founder and author of Alzheimer's Daughter, a memoir in which she tells her story of caring for her 2 parents with dementia at the same time. Hello, Jean. Hey, Jean.
Hi, everybody.
I don't see anybody else from the management team at this moment. So let's get started. I'm going to ask Ann Campanella to start us off.
Sounds great. I will just jump right in here. I'm Ann Campanella. I've been with AlzAuthors for 6 years, I believe. My mom had dementia, Alzheimer's, for 14 years. And the poem I'm going to read is called Child Mother. And I wrote it when she was in a care home. Child Mother. She used to grip the rudder, auburn hair slicked, cheeks round and pink as 2 rubber balls. Duck, she'd yell when the sail swooped across us, canvas wagging for a moment like the skin on her jaw. Now she stares at the photo of the bay, her eyes pools of hazel. She grips my hand, whispers, "I think I'll walk down to the lake." Her voice soft as an eddy of wind against my neck. We push through the glass doors into a gray sea of cement. Cars and vans bob like anchored boats. Her eyes calm as mist, she points. "What do you see?" I ask, squinting at a lamppost, a small tree in the distance. She waves. "Why, it's Dad, of course, but he doesn't see me." Wetness slides down the ripple of her cheek. "Will you take me to him?" I place my arm across the mast of her shoulders, walk with her into the mirage. Thanks.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Marcia Barber. Where's Marcia?
I'm right here.
Okay. Hi, Marcia. I know that you had said that you only had a few minutes, so we wanted to have you read next.
Thank you. So I'm reading from my 4th poetry book, Kaddish for My Mother, and inspired by the journey, the dementia journey. So this poem is called Giving Up Her Name. The Sunday before my mother died, she became lucid, the way a stone under clear water becomes lucid. the beauty of its cracks and veins revealed. The confusion receded like harbor fog at sunrise. It was a good day, she said. The pain ebbed like a wave. And that's when my mother told me she never liked her name. Josephine, too much to carry. We told each other, I love you, although love wasn't enough to contain all the prior years of distance and hurt. But now I'd begun to see her as my child and loved her with the deep, uncomplicated love you feel for those you tend to. As I cupped my palms gently around her fragile life. As we left that day, I turned to my husband and said, that's the best visit we've had in months. The next day, my mother sank into heavy sleep, but it wasn't until 3 days later that she exhaled a gentle breath and finally was able to relinquish the weight of her name. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Very lovely. Caroline Johnson.
I just want to give a little plug I just love I don't know if I can see my camera there. I don't know if you can see
Yeah, we can see it.
Campanella's book. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. It's just wonderful poetry, and also Jean Lee's book, Alzheimer's Daughter.
Oh, thank you so
Both
much.
of those. If you don't have that, please do get it. So I'm gonna read, just one poem from my book. It's called The Caregiver, and I was a caregiver for both my parents. My mom had Alzheimer's. So I'm going to read a poem that references that, and my dad had a rare form of Parkinson's called multiple systems atrophy, which he did have Lewy body dementia. So they both really did suffer from this illness. So this is called Glasses. Sitting in his wheelchair, Father struggles to brush his teeth, sips from an antique green glass hand blown by Grandpa, spits into a pink plastic hospital tray. Mother also rinses her mouth with one of Grandpa's vintage juice glasses. After polishing her denture, she wanders off to bed, her head full of sweet, demented delusions. Earlier, we hunted for her lost hearing aid, searched among socks, drains, under dressers, beds, until we found it buried deep in the bottom of one of her father's speckled glasses. I tuck them into bed, tell them about a puffin I saw in Alaska. Mother wonders when she will fly away. Is that where we're going? She asks. To Alaska? I can't argue with her logic, merely dim the lights. Who am I to tell her she doesn't have wings? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Steve Giblin, are you ready?
Thank you, Marianne.
Mhm.
Let me just give a little bit of background. My wife was diagnosed with a rare form of dementia called posterior cortical atrophy. It is an early onset form of dementia. My wife was diagnosed at age 58. She's now 65. PCA is sometimes referred to as the visual variant of Alzheimer's because it impacts initially that part of the brain which processes what our eyes see. So my wife's eyes are healthy. It's the brain that's not working. So she has visual related challenges. I am not a professional poet or author. I don't have a book to hold up, but I've written a series of haiku poems that I published on a Facebook group that I'm an administrator for PCA spouses. Those of you who are not familiar with haiku, it's 3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and 5 syllables. So I have 2, if you will allow me, 2 very short poems to read to you.
Okay.
They don't have titles. Creeping from nowhere, subtle signs along the way, changing everything. And the second one, Intimacy robbed, leaving a lonely vacuum, couple uncoupled. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. That's beautiful. Keep writing. Your voice is important.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Margaret Stowawi. Did I say that right, Margaret?
Yes, I'm unmuted now. Yes, you
Oh,
did
great.
pronounce my name correctly.
I want to just introduce you because you brought so many of the wonderful poets to this program through your book, Storms of the Inland Sea, which is becoming one of our AlzAuthors books. In a few months, I think you're in the queue.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
I'm so glad to see my, everybody here and my contributors as well, but to make new friends and hear voices of these wonderful poets. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, you can read.
So my poem is called Drugging My Mother. And my mom had dementia for 5 years. I was her caregiver. And toward the end, she started developing rather serious behavior issues. And it was a crisis for me, very difficult to deal with. And this poem came from that experience. It's called Drugging My Mother, because hospice said we're going to have to stabilize her or we won't be able to get her into any assisted living facility at all. So here goes. Drugging my mother. My hand shook when I took the bag of drugs delivered that night. The moon was red. My mother's gut clenched, bred an infection, dispersed invasive seeds of rage. In her brain, a chainsaw shredded reason to ribbons, incited limbs to insurrection. Hospice gave clear directions. Don't worry about tomorrow, today. But that day, electrons in her head split atomic bonds of mother, daughter. I could hide knives, scissors, but not my fear, which she could smell clearly. Lorazepam, Seroquel, haloperidol. I ferried the dark waters of my mother, tossed futile chemicals into her currents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think many of us have probably been through that experience. And you said it so eloquently. Thank you. Sherry Levine. Sherry is one of our upcoming AlzAuthors.
Thank you so much, Anne and Marianne, for having me. And I am in Margaret's book. I'm very honored to be. I have to leave early because I teach English to immigrants and refugees. I have two 30-second poems, if I may read them.
Absolutely.
First poem, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and was really agitated. And this poem just got accepted to the Prairie Schooner. So I'll share it with you. It's called Rummaging. Off the bus, my mother struts in front of me in a rush to the bank. She waves her finger at the teller, counting bills behind the window. Where's the chubby one, she says. I stand behind her and tug her arm. Stop it, she says. She pulls away, rummaging through her black leather fanny pack for her driver's license. I know she won't find it. They know me here, she yells. Behind the window, the manager nods to me. He says to her, "It's okay, Mrs. Levine." I turn around and face the security guard, the taser on his belt. He doesn't flinch. Has she done this before? I feel sweat dripping under my arms and into my bra. Everything is red and hot, like the inside of a mouth screaming. Thank you. I just published a book. It's an acrostic poetry of all of my mom's art. I asked 47 Oregon poets to write an acrostic poem, and I just published this, and I'm going to be reading it in Powell's bookstore.
Awesome.
I have to show you the picture because it's so drastic. Everybody
Yeah.
see that?
Wow. That is gorgeous.
You. Stealing flowers from the neighbors. No dark sunglasses, no hood over my head, no scissors, shopping bag slung over my shoulder. I slide behind bushes, pricked by brambles, yank and snap, rip and tear. No worry or rush or hush from the birds. Squirrels too busy collecting nuts don't stop on the lawn to judge. Dandelion seeds fill the air like dust. A silent sneeze, a cough caught in my throat. I crawl under towering weeds and hedges, wedge myself between rocks and prickly thorns. I do not feel the scraping of my knees or the bee sting, burn of the sun on my cheeks, heat on my hatless head. Stealing flowers from the neighbors, I could only think of you in your hospice bed, your weary head waiting for me to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Maybe Dorothy Horn next.
So my name is Dorothy Horn, and my husband had early onset Alzheimer's, was diagnosed in 2011 and died in 2018. And so I wrote a series of essays for our paper, and along with that, a number of poems. So I'm going to read two very short ones. The first one's called Sometimes I Can't See God. Not in the big things anyway. I feel overwhelmed. But then I hear a word or a song, and I remember to wait on him. For he will come once again. I will see his face once again. In the meantime, I will praise him while I'm waiting. I will look for him in the small things. I can always see him there, a leaf illuminated by sunlight, a grandbaby sleeping, or a flower surfacing through the weeds. The small things, conduits of grace, when framed by our focus, reveal our Father's glory, and then he comes once again. Okay, the second short poem is entitled I should have brought a stone. And it was what inspired me was Ernest Hemingway's there's a paragraph here that I wrote from The Old Man in the Sea. His says, I should have brought a stone. And I'm about to read mine. You should have brought many things, he thought, but you did not bring them, oh man. Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what there is. So it inspired me to write this. Sometimes I think I should have brought a stone. Maybe it could have helped me navigate my way through the chaos that ever threatens to close in. Maybe I could have stayed brave and upbeat and encouraging and helpful. All those things that are so hard to do when you are empty. Maybe if I had brought a stone, I would still be able to hear the music. God, where is the music? Then God said, think of what you can do with what there is. You don't have a stone, you have a rock, and that's capitalized because of Jesus. And the verse I wrote at the end is, because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. The end.
Thank you so much. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have Annette Wick.
Hi there, I'm Annette Januzzi Wick, and I'm a writer and author, and I published a book called I'll Have Some of Yours that is not amongst all the things behind me right now, but it's a book of essays around caregiving, and I say about caregiving and cookies, but I'm going to read poetry today, and I always found poetry to be somewhat of an easy way to capture all of my sentiments in those moments in between. I'm sure some of you will recognize this stage of dementia that my mother was in at this point. Never forget ice cream. I scream, she screams at me for asking her to move, to walk. It's late, 7 p.m. She has sundown before the sun has dipped. But I recall long, sweaty nights of drives to Dairy Aisle when we dipped our tongues in banana custard cream, then quenched our imaginations with the colored fountains near the waves. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Colors sliding into one another as her moments and moods do now, with no real distinction between a spot of ice cream and lathered soap. Finally, we stop moving. She stops tearing into me for being a son of a bitch, though I want to correct her and say girl, not son. I hold my tongue, wait for the ice cream to cool her temper and my ire at why I am here at all. Because this life in front of me that calls me honey, with a taste sweeter than peach, is all I can feel. I will tell my husband later, if we each take care of one, wouldn't that be enough? That would stop the pain, despite how many times she's wanted to strangle me with her killer looks because she doesn't understand. She grabs the creamed ice from the place between us where it sat as peace offering, an offering of peach. With the spoon, she knows to scoop milk in her mouth. She is a mother feeding herself. Wasn't it worth that screaming for her one cool plunge to a place inside no one, not even me, can touch? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Annette. Marjorie Maddox.
Yes, here I am.
Okay.
This poem was written after my mother had kind of a deep dive into dementia after a hospital visit, kind of foreshadowing what was to come a little bit later. And she was very much a lady, and her personality drastically changed, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. And it was also the first time that she didn't recognize who we were. And then that went away and eventually came back again. Manners. Always a lady, she compliments the hospital bed and its ups and downs, the gray mashed beans, the flavorless broth, and me, who knows so very much about myself. An excellent researcher to have discovered her writer daughter, who also, coincidentally, is named my name, which she's always loved. Don't I love it too? Such a small world, she murmurs, before asking me to please pass the no salt salt. She shivers. I help her tug the thin cover up evenly to her chin. When my sister returns to the room with a newly warmed blanket and the nurse she has gone to fetch, then sits with me again at the bed rail, my polite mother asks, "Have you met my other daughter, the beautiful one?" Yes, I nod. She's lovely. When her mind and body again thrash violently and, for her own protection, if the aides explain, they strap her into a straitjacket, my mother pleads with us to find her daughters who are always happy to help. Thank you so much, she smiles, before glaring at us suddenly with someone else's impolite eyes. Always a lady, my mother does not know that she's not who she is at the moment, swearing at the nurses she thinks are strangling her, at the intern who surely has stolen her car, the one we will take away for her own protection. After the MRI and CAT scan, after the final diagnosis, common infection that hijacked her brain temporarily, which she will not remember when she returns to her polite small talk, to the well-mannered children she recognizes and calls by name, the names she's always loved. Don't we love them too? Thank you.
Thank you. It's lovely. Paul Sohar.
I was also in this storm in the inland sea, but I'm going to turn to a different subject. Unfortunately, in my family, this case, which happened about 65 years ago, and but there's a more recent case. It's involved my grandmother, my German grandmother from Transylvania. But then my younger brother came down with Alzheimer's, and it had a slow start, and it lasted 7 years. And this poem is from, maybe the beginning stages. When he could still speak. Merry Christmas, I greet my younger brother in the door. The gnarls in the time-tinted face wiggle into a smile. Happy birthday. We shake on it like two dead branches hung up on each other. Merry Christmas, I blow a breeze, maybe a pink cloud of sunset, and take another sip of apricot brandy. Who cares about dates and seasons? Only words, noise we make. We need a strong wind to make us fall on the ground, a wind stronger than time. Happy birthday. The shadow on his cheeks falls on an anxious grin, an old oil painting with the color all gummed up, earthstone, inhabited by a spider dragging its dusty web. The snow is melting from my boots. The puddle is a deaf mirror. My birthday is in July, I say, but he nods as if to obey a gust of wind. I'm stopping by to say Merry Christmas, not only to check on him, but all my words freeze midair before landing on his helmeted eyelids. Happy birthday. His refrain to my routine holiday noise sounds like his tongue is under the control of an alien calendar. Happy whatever the new year may bring. I try to compromise. A deal between two dying trees in a darkening forest. Happy whatever's ahead. His wife didn't give him a brandy glass. He doesn't know. He stands up. I stand up. Our arthritic hands shake in the kindling, like kindling wood thrown into a fireplace. Who's got matches? Crumple up some old newspapers. To us, even tomorrow's paper is old, ripe enough to burn. But our words turn into ashes in a cold and flameless fire.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Pauletta Hansel?
Hi, I'm honored to be reading with all of you and wish that there had been this reading when my mother was alive. It would have been very helpful to hear all these poems. I'm reading from my book called Palindrome, which is about her dementia journey and my journey with her. She died in 2018. And the poem that I'm going to read is a couple of parts of a sonnet, a crown of sonnets that I wrote, which is when I knew that I could actually write this book. The poem is called The Body Above It. 1. We cannot see what she sees. At night, dark insects slip inside the shoes our mother will shake out come morning. Her bedside clock runs backwards. We could not smell the burning lingering around the box of ash and bone that was our father. To us, bread only tastes of bread. We lay fleshy cheeks against the rumpled angles of her face, whisper good night, then come to visit her again, taut skin and buds of breasts just barely rippling our tie-dyed shirts. We are more real to her in dreams than hovering near her in our clumsy bodies, refused entrance to her world, slowly crumbling behind her mind's locked door. 2. Just inside her new nursing home's locked door, my mother lists awkward in her wheelchair, adrift, one sock and both cloth shoes scattered helplessly behind. I bend to gather them up and say into the ear that holds her last remaining hearing aid, "You are my diddle diddle dumpling," forever hoping she will remember the rest of the rhyme. It too is gone, no later alligator, no after while, sunk to a bottomless bottom, nestled beside, some days, my name. Now my mother rubs her heel and whispers, maybe to me, "It is dying." "Your foot?" I ask her. "No, the body above it." Thank you.
Thank you. Walter Bargan.
Yes, my name is Walter Bargan, and I'm going to read a poem from My Other Mother's Red Mercedes, which is about my mother and myself traveling through her illness of dementia. This is called Tony's Army. She was German, came here after World War II, and things get mixed up, histories get confused, and we all become time travelers trying to figure out just how much of this we are a part of. It begins in a nursing home. Her bed is elevated to look down at the photographs and a small brown cookbook dated 1940 with her maiden name inscribed on the title page. She wants to know where I found it, and I can't tell her that I packed up the contents of her house, what was once so familiar, leaded glass on end tables and windowsills, a few Hummel figures from the top shelf of the cabinet, too many beer steins, a few odd paintings of otter origin, preparing the rest for sale. I want to know, but forget to ask, where she was when she used these recipes. There is so little room, even as the house is emptied. I hold up an 8x10 group wedding portrait of part of my family in Germany. The extended family standing on 4 tiers of risers, taken maybe 40 years ago. We are time travelers, time narrowing our destinations, never quite quick enough to stay ahead, no matter how quirky we are with our evasions. I ask her to name each person and to start in the upper left-hand corner. The first man's name is Tony, short for Anthony. He is a cousin I've sat beside, both of us holding beer steins, exchanging words that neither of us understood, laughing as our hands shaped the air into meaning. Separated in the photo by 2 women, Andrea and Gabi. The next man is Tony too. When she has finished naming all 4 tiers, there's an entire family of men with the same first name. I open the photo album and place it on her lap. Each page is crowded with 2x2-inch black and white snapshots from beyond half a century ago. Not a half life ago, but a whole life. On each page, the past is running to catch up with the future. Hand-colored wedding photographs, the bouquets hand-painted pink and yellow, smiles beyond smiles, the relief real, the war ended amid smoke smeared by wind, rising from a wrecked plane, a fleet of half-disassembled bombers, the white sails of boats sheeting the village lake, couples holding babies, holding me, father and buddies holding stringers of trout, snow and fog shrouding mountains and valleys, hikers filling the day with wanderings. I turn the page to a larger portrait of a young man, uniformed, wearing his army field cap, cocked to one side, his lips and eyes set, confident, certain that life is ahead. and my mother points to him and says, Tony. Then I know. Her oldest brother in a family of 11 siblings, the one who disappeared near the end of the war. That's what everyone does, disappears, eventually, whole families, and a few, for a while, never forget, until they too are found smiling from the pages of an album, their names forgotten. Thank you.
Marion Cohen?
Hear me?
There you are, yes.
I'm reading from my book, one of my caregiver books. It's called Chronic Progressive. I'm also in Margaret Stowaway's anthology, but I'm going to read this instead. It wasn't Alzheimer's, it was MS, but there was some dementia involved, which affected us financially to some extent. But the poem is, and I have to say, I was not that willing a caregiver. I was a good caregiver, but not that willing. A lot of my writing's about that. Also, this poem, which is called Signs of Dementia, it also reflects my math background to some extent. Here's the poem, Signs of Dementia. I should be thinking of lace, of doilies, the advantages of skeletons, branches without leaves, the usefulness of the forgetful functor, the qualities of shadows, fatigue, and sleep. I should be caressing this asymmetric snowflake, this two-leaf clover, this sieve of Aristophanes, should be quietly touching this delicate fractal, respectively studying what's left. Thank you.
Thank you. Joy Johnston.
Hi, grateful to be here. So I've written a collection of personal essays about dementia caregiving called The Reluctant Caregiver, but I also do write poetry. It remains unpublished, but this poem in particular is about time near the end of my father's life, November 2011. He was placed in a medically induced coma. And so I spent a week with him by his bedside in Presbyterian Hospital in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And there wasn't much I could do other than hold his hand because he was in the coma. And so all I could do was hold his hand and look out the window. And out the window was the Crossroads Motel sign. And if you're a fan of the show Breaking Bad, it was very popular at the time. And the Crossroads Motel played a big part in the show. So there was people pulling over, taking selfies with the Crossroads Motel sign. So that was the scene that inspired this poem. And of course, I had to recognize that my father was also at a crossroads himself. At the crossroads, I stared hard out the hospital window. That week you flatly refused to die, mocked by the Crossroads Motel sign and waves of toffee-tinted mountains soaring amidst a blistering blue sky. Trapped within a broken mind, choking on splintered synapses, reduced to a series of specimens, numbers, waves, a litany of beeps and alarms, machines performing mechanical wonders only sometimes magical, like the haunting whoosh of the ventilator performing admirably as understudy for your lungs. Another day passed without you knowing. I left you just as dusk swooped down like a starving vulture, the cherry red bulbs of the Crossroads Motel sign luridly flashing an invitation, vacancy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Renee Terry-Mucci.
My name is Renee Terry-Mucci, and my mom had dementia for 10 years. And I was her caregiver, and during that time, I kept a journal. Writing was very therapeutic to keep a journal. Subsequently, I published it. It was her wish to publish it and have it reach as many people as she could to teach them the dance between the patient and the other survivor, which is the caregiver. I have three that are very short, and they're sequential. The first one is in the book, and I missed her speaking to me so desperately that I wrote this poem as if she had written it to me. It's called Life. Life, be kind to me. My memories are fading. Yesterday's flow into today, leaving tomorrow a mystery. Thoughts scatter from the corners of my mind and vanish as quickly as they appear. I sometimes fail to know you, but I will always love who you are to me and the way you make me feel. I then wrote this particular one after her passing, and it was a remembrance of our many conversations. So it's called Our Conversation. Good morning. Who are you? And what am I supposed to do? Today I have so many plans. I need to know where I'm to stand. I still have lots of things to say. Will you please just go away and leave me here with my delight? But wait, here comes the dreaded fright. I love you so. Are you my mom? I'm glad you're here. Why did you come? No matter what you hear or see, please know that I am still just me. And this one is called Prayer from Heaven. Cry not for me and be not sad as I have run the race. My days embraced each stage of life and filled my soul with grace. I carry with me all your love and every memory too. Your words and prayers surround me still. My heart is filled with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Susan Faries.
Hi, everyone. This is heartwarming. I'm proud to be an ALZ author with my book, Poetic Expressions in Nursing, Sharing the Caring. I'm a nurse. And I want to thank Marianne, my fellow nurse, for inviting me in. I'm going to read Anne's Zest Ends. I was inspired about this. This is in regards to my maternal grandmother, Anne, who passed away at age 60 in 1971. And in 1991, as a nurse reflecting on everything, I finally healed with her loss. She died institutionalized before there were any daycare centers or any support like this or community. I was inspired by seeing the movie Awakenings with Robert De Niro and Robin Williams. Anne's Zest Ends. Prelude. Her zest for life, boundless energy, a smile a minute so full of glee, remembrance of my grandmother Anne, so significant to me. She ran the show. She was in the know about this or that, nonetheless, always on the go. So sharp, so much fun, and so on the ball. How I long to remember and long to recall. Endless walks, sun or snow when I was small. She'd pick me up when my spirit would fall. My first real buddy, my first true friend. Her ears and shoulders she'd always lend. If I was sad, my pain I'd spend. But always through her, my heart would mend. Intermission. But when I was about 7 in 1963, something in her changed so drastically. She would no longer laugh. She no longer knew me. She would wander about so aimlessly. She would light the gas stove and let the fire run free. Her eyes then would gaze in a wild combat stare. She grew mute and confused. She would pick at her hair. Who was this new stranger taking over her mind? Where did her spirit go? What did it find? From doctor to doctor, this mystery grew. It was 1965 and still nobody knew. To a state institution eventually, her spirit then faded each day religiously. She grew steadily worse. It took 6 more long years. I would visit her with my mother. We would shed many tears. Day passes were draining. The public would stare. We'd assist her in the bathroom, comb the knots from her hair. I wonder how she felt, personality withered. Did she realize her melt? Were her synapses in a blizzard? Finale. On the 13th of April, 1971, when the hospital called us, 'twas the weight of a ton. She was terminally losing the battle and had wasted away, lost all faculties, not her choosing. She died soon after that day. but I reached for her hand at the bedside to say goodbye, friend, on that fateful day. And she mumbled and stared and connected. She mumbled as if to say, so long for now, Susan. I'm afraid it's time to take my rest, 'cause Alzheimer's drained my life away. But at least you've inherited my zest. Reflections. 20 years later, I weep for the past. Fond memories of Anne. She left the good life so fast. Suffering, although it was an unfair curse, was the stimulus for me to become a nurse. As I seriously reflect on this draining disease that robs the brain of freedom cells and independence ease, I am angry. No definite cause or cure has been found. All the research won't touch the pain that abounds. If I had just one more wish that would be granted to me, I'd want to spend a day with Anne, just her and me. Her cheerful style, giving nature so gold, her best feature zest, her stature so bold. But who's kidding who? She was taken away in her prime, a true servant of God, strong will, lost mind. Signed, one who can still remember. Thank you. She's back. She's back every time.
Thank you. So that's very moving. And it's a tribute. Thomas Brenner?
Yeah, my wife Karen and I have done a lot of work with people in caregiving settings about the dementia journey and trying to get people interested in a creative approach to their grief and to the situation that seems unbearable, to be able to express your feelings in a way that allows you to cope. And Karen wrote a Caregiver's Valentine, and that's the poem we'd like to read at this time.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to Alzheimer's Authors. It's such a wonderful group, so supportive of caregivers and people with dementia. And here's the poem, A Caregiver's Valentine. We were impossibly young and so beautiful when we met and fell in love. You were the cool guy from the big city. I was the shy, small town girl. I bring you photographs of those days long ago. You look at me and smile and ask me who those people are. I take your hand. It is warm and strong in mine. You don't remember, but you know that we belong together. I tell you stories of those two young people. You listen intently and study their faces. And then you look into my face with wonder in your eyes. I have come to understand that I have come to understand that it doesn't matter that you no longer remember who we were then. It only matters that we can sit and hold hands while I tell you stories of those two young lovers, you and me.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen and Tom. Felicia Mitchell?
I'm Felicia Mitchell, and I was my mother's primary caregiver later in her life, but with the help of my brothers, much of her journey. And I'm going to read a poem from a book, my book, A Mother Speaks, A Daughter Listens, in which I write a lot about my experiences and my feelings, but as with many of us have experienced, we miss our mother's voices. And so a good bit of this book includes my mother's voice through letters and through words that I've integrated in my poems. And in one section, after she died, I decided to visit her months of hospice and imagine what might have been going on inside her head. And so the poem I'm going to read is called Bald Felicia. That's me. So one thing I guess I should say, everything is intersectional. You don't just have Alzheimer's. My mother had breast cancer twice. The second time diagnosed the same week mine was. So as she was winding down. I was hoping not to wind down. And we always speculated on how much she could figure out was going on. And one of my brothers wanted her to know, pulled off my scarf one day. Anyway, bald Felicia. My daughter is bald underneath her scarf. I can feel her bald head when I pat her head. I can see it or not see it when she turns her back to walk out that door without a ponytail flopping. She is trying to protect me as I lie here in this bed, but I remember chemo. I know exactly what it means. The two of us are the same, two pieces of the same puzzle, even if I chose to wear a wig. When she leans down and hugs me, her breast falling into the margins where I once had another. My one full breast fills in the gap where her other breast is gone. This is how we speak of cancer, with our bodies instead of words. Nothing comes between us. It is as if we make each other whole again, as whole as a full head of hair or a healthy body. Letting go of these last hugs is teaching me how strong she is and teaching my daughter how to let go of me when I go. So.
Thank you.
I should say that's Mama Audrey McClary Mitchell through me.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Judith Lechner.
Nobody's ever pronounced it right since kindergarten, but it's Lechner.
Lechner, okay. I understand
But,
completely.
This poem is about my husband who currently has Alzheimer's, and it's been a 4-year trip and not over. And here he is playing his bass. He's a jazz musician and he still plays.
Awesome.
Not publicly, but he still plays, and he's still the same sweet self, except for, things that happen from time to time. And this poem is dedicated to him. He was a wonderful talker, and at this point now he has problems talking. Every day on the blackboard of your mind, words are erased. You squint at the faint broken letters. Sometimes there's magic. Shadows reassemble into a word you once knew. You turn it round and round, repeat it, marveling at its contours, delighting in reconstructing meaning, sounding almost like the great talker you once were. Other times I slip lost words into your empty pockets. Some slip through the seams. A few settle in, at least for a time. Words are garments to clothe feelings, present the self to others. When words disappear, do you feel naked, shivering in the darkness, grasping at threads? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Judith Lechner. Did I say it?
Okay.
I laugh because my whole life I've had names nobody could ever say or spell. Sue Fagal. Now here's another one I probably can't say. Sue Fagal.
Fagaldi.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, my husband Fred had Alzheimer's. Started at age 65 and he died at 73. And I published a chapbook, Gravel Road Ahead, about our journey with his Alzheimer's. And I've got a memoir coming out next year about that as well. This is the last poem in the book, called Sister Alzheimer's Wife. So addressed to lots of us. Sister Alzheimer's wife, I know you. even though we have never met. I know the fear every time he forgets something he used to know, like how to make a sandwich or where the salad dressing goes. I know you lie awake at night watching him hallucinate, fighting monsters in the bed, or not remembering who you are. He gets lost and pees on the rug. You're so tired you want to run away. I know you weep. I know you weep where he cannot hear, in the car, the garage, on the toilet seat, then hurry to answer his calls for help. Turn on the TV or button his shirt. Well, the house needs work, lawns aren't mowed, and the oil light's been on in the car for weeks. I know you watch the money go as you pay bills you never paid before. Doctors, car repair, and soon the nursing home. Married but not a wife anymore. You miss kissing and sex and wine-soaked talks, sharing memories only you remember now. Oh, sister, I know you feel alone, that no one understands the way it is, that he's disappearing bit by bit, even if he looks the same as he always did. And it's not fair, not fair, not effing fair. But you promised, so you stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Aiden.
Hi there. So I'm an Alzheimer authors as of 2020, or actually 2021. My mom was the person who had Alzheimer's in our family. I was her main caregiver until we had to put her in memory care, and she passed away during COVID. So we missed out on the last 4 years of her, or 4 months of her life. But talking about it, it was horrible. Renee mentioned journaling, and that's what I did in my I Remember Me book, is I chronicled it on Facebook. And then Felicia mentioned how we miss our mother's voices. And so I had videos of her and I used QR codes. So I treasure this book, even though others may not. It's my lifeline to my mom. What I'm going to share with you guys today, I do have one poem in here. It's my son's poem that he wrote when my mom died, but I'll read that at the second hour if there's time. What I'm going to share is a little different from what everybody else has been doing. My sister and I wrote children's books about the 3 different stages. So I'm just going to read just a couple of quick ones from the beginning stage, and we use little dragons. So yeah, just something whimsical that because not every family looks alike, you know. So grandma's acting funny. I don't know what is wrong with her. Mommy says she is sick with something called Alzheimer's. And then grandma misplaces things everywhere she goes. Today she can't find her glasses. I giggled and said, they're on your nose. I opened the refrigerator to get a bottle of juice. I found grandma's purse between the milk and the fruit. In the middle stage, I wanted to try to make kids understand that it's okay to be angry and sad. So sometimes grandma gets angry and yells. It always makes me sad. Mommy reminds me that grandma loves me, even when she is acting mad. Sometimes grandma says bad words that I'm not allowed to say. Daddy reminds me not to repeat them and to forgive grandma when she's having a bad day. Mealtime is also strange when grandma forgets how to use her spoon. Mommy says that it's okay. We will just serve her finger foods. I giggle sometimes when she pushes her broccoli away. Mommy asks her to take a bite, but grandma pouts and says, no way. And then in the last stage, a couple of them that stood out to me is, my grandma is not a baby, but I'm really, really confused. She has to wear diapers like my baby brother Drew. Mommy said it's important to not call them that. She said grandma is embarrassed, so we call them underpants. And then I'll finish up with this. Sometimes grandma just mumbles or doesn't want to talk. Sometimes she will look at us and sometimes she will not. Mommy says the illness is affecting the inside of her noggin, so we nod and pretend to understand her childlike way of talking. Grandma is getting more tired and needs a lot of rest. For most of the night and the day, she is sleeping in her nest. Grandma is acting funny and she seems a little sicker. I still tell her I love her, even if it's just a whisper.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's very important that we recognize children on the Alzheimer's and dementia journey, and we have many, many children's books in our collection. So if you have children in your life, you might want to take a look at those. Charlie Becker, you're up next.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm one of the grateful poets included in Storms of the Inland Sea. My poem in that book is called At 97, about my mother. The poem I'm reading today is At 98. My mom passed away in 2021 at 99. I don't know why the model ducklings matter so much today, down preening after swimming, and my mother amazed by their nonchalance. They have us wrapped in another world, instinct. I used to be so hurried, busying, but now, my father gone, mother asking me why she's still around, I realize there's nothing else to do but be, nowhere else to go but here, and ducks with eyes to see sideways as they walk, not looking ahead or back where they've been, but only where they are right now, living fully in this moment. I don't know why my mother can't remember wild ducks anymore flying south from her Watkins Glen childhood, and she can't remember what we had for lunch 5 minutes ago. But today, her instincts from her wheelchair tell my mom to fly in her most migratory daydreams, jet-streamed fantasies of flight, sun and star-gazed faithful leaps across the horizon, patterning prayerful movements, making seasons end or beginning. She longs to intuit what's next, but must wait for my father and fate to guide her next landing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mary Crescenzo.
I am an author, the author of the Planet Alzheimer's Guide, and I started my writing career as a poet. I'm going to read, if I may, 2 poems that fit the time allotment, if I may. They are persona poems from my play, Planet A, and I come to this from the perspective of working for 30 years with hundreds of persons living with Alzheimer's and other dementias as a pioneer in the use of arts engagement. So these persona poems that have come to become this play are from my observations and from my imagination, giving voice to those whose path I've crossed. The first one is from a voice of a resident, and her name is Dorothy. My first date bought me a gardenia. We went to a party together. I spent my days as a child in Virginia among blossoms and the procession of farmhands, cotillion balls, and grand marches. And those required hats and gloves, spotless, like the color of cotton in the field. Today, my daughter carries out cardboard boxes filled with my clothes, my baubles, the color of Mardi Gras, and the final bill. If she could have managed, she would have kept me with her in her home, but it was impossible for both of us. Sometimes it simply is, no matter how much someone loves you. It's better this way for both of us. No more bills, no useless guilt, no more suffering for both sides. This day was as inevitable as the tinge of a white flower when it is around for too long. The second one is this is based on my experience as an arts facilitator. It comes at the end of the play, towards the end. On this planet, life is short and living is long. that if we can breathe, we can make someone smile. There are worse smells than urine. One of them is death. In this place, I've learned that even a man in a diaper likes to dance, that a woman will tell you how to brush her hair, even if she doesn't know her own name. Here, I learned the rules of love, greed, and gender that reveal how we got to where we are today. Here, I discover how those outside of these walls are afraid of death and time and loving, convinced that with enough BMWs and Botox, we can live forever. Here, there is no rushing around, no missing the bus, no drunk drivers. Here, the bankers eat lunch with the janitors, and the daughters of the revolution dine with the maids. On this planet, no one has time to snub others. Everyone's too busy keeping others and each other on their feet. On this planet, the birthday cakes are always but bittersweet, and the tea is always flowing, and no one ever says, "Don't cry." Life on this planet is full of expert storytellers, a dying breed of technical advisors for the past, a parallel universe, a looking glass coated in silver, watching you, watching me. Thank
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.
Teresa.
Yeah, it's Therese.
Therese.
Another hard name. I'm going to read. I was in Margaret and Jim's anthology, which is just such a wonderful anthology, and so is the reading today. And I'm going to read one of the poems of mine that was in the anthology, and it's also in my book, Frozen Latitudes. My father's cereal. We wake on dry land where the sun works brilliant, until a bib is tied about my father's neck. A bowl is placed high upon books, and the largest spoon in the house is set in his hand between two crooked fingers. There is my mother creating this daily scene of events, pouring Cheerios into his bowl, adding the white milk before guiding my father's spoon down into it. She leaves the room then, and there is only myself sitting across from him. I have my own bowl, but can do nothing about it. We are a pair of sorts. I refuse how his face is unreadable, that his brain is damaged to where enough to believe he is eating, and he is blind to the point where he thinks I look fine. When we move as slow water moves barely along because nothing can save us. His spoon floats through air, is empty, treading in space. My thoughts are all garbled as if made of liquid. We remain this way, my father and I, as if underwater. The Cheerios turn soggy, inflating like inner tubes, but it is too late. Soon we will drown in this moment. Day will begin, and there will only be the strange surfacing of our tragic lives. I forgot to say that my father had brain damage when I was 14, so he had active dementia.
Wow. Thank you so much. Alan Byrne.
Hello. So thank you to Margaret for publishing this one of these poems I'm going to read in the great book Storms of the Inland Sea. And both poems are in my first book called No, the Saddest, which is from 2004. But these poems are from what happened to my first wife. She was pregnant and had a ruptured cerebral aneurysm. So she was actually in a coma, and the baby was protected until he was born. And then she came out of the coma, and that was actually the time when she went into very severe dementia and lived another 3 years. So this is a long time ago, but it was traumatic enough that, you know, I'm still traumatized. That's all I can say. And my son does not remember his mother. I think that was a good idea because she was actually psychotic. That's the closest word for her behavior. As much dementia is, it's like psychosis. And so, but these poems are actually written when she was about when she was written in a coma. So it's a long time ago, but here they are. The first one is in the Storms of the Inland Sea. Leaning in. Leaning down and in to approximate you. How close can my face become? I do not ask that you wake up. That story is never ending. Still, as if to kiss your lids, I purse my lips. This poem is called Boxae. That's spelled Boxae. It's a made-up word, but it kind of sounds like it might be Latin, plural for boxes. Boxae. Another rapid child fills a shoebox up with sand and thinks each grain of voice. This is how it is to talk to you. When I whisper in your ear, this is what hears. An undersleeping window box unlocked. A human echo cave. Ear of Dionysius, stone deaf. Fixed black box who speaks in zero, hears messages to the dead. I hang on to your aside face by tearing off my last nail. Where are you traveling? In place of love, I drip the blood pail. So to not end on a completely difficult note, I just want to say my son is almost 44 years old and he's married and we have a grandchild whose name is Elin, and he's cool. He's 2 years old. That's a great age. And thank you again to AlzAuthors and to Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
I may not be able to stay for the whole thing, but this is just a great reading. I really am engrossed by it. Enjoying it means that I enjoy all the things. Enjoying maybe the wrong word, but definitely engrossing. So thank you.
Thank you. That's a great word to describe it.
Next up is Kelly Dumar.
Hi, thanks for hosting this, Marianne, and AlzAuthors. And I am also indebted to the Storms of the Inland Sea, Margaret Stowowie and Jim Kokas for including 3 of my poems in that anthology. And I and my siblings were caretakers of both my parents who had dementia. My mother predeceased my father, by 8 years or so. And my father died about 6 years ago of Alzheimer's. And this poem I'm going to read today is from an experience of taking him to the doctor and then going to the pharmacy to get the medicine he needed before taking him home, where he lived in assisted living. Absence. Stay put, I tell my dad, like a parent warning an impulsive child to behave in her absence. I leave the car running, heat blowing, knowing he can't follow me on his blown out knee, even if he forgets why I left him or who I am or when I'll return, and I will not let him freeze in my absence. Coatless into the wind, I cross the lot, halogen lit, past freezing cars parked without passengers, fingers stinging and clutching his prescription for pain. Inside, I follow signs and more signs through a maze of makeup, of medicine, to the rear where I wait and keep waiting while behind the counter, the pharmacist under bright lights is rushing, and then I am too, back toward the exit. But here he comes, limping through the electric door, waving my coat sleeves open like a father tracking a forgetful child, like a father who won't let me freeze. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariana McDonald.
So glad to be here with you all today. My husband, Ramon Feliciano, was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's when our children were 3 and 8 years old, and he died 9 years later. So I, in rapid fashion, became both a caregiver and a single parent. I'm going to read 2 poems today. The first is in The Famous Storms, and the second is in the mountains near Hyuya, from my collection of the same name. A darkness. There was nothing I could do to stop it. No way to stop the pull of death, the thick sheets of forgetfulness, the mangled neurons, tattered thoughts, the conquered lands of tyrant black. I could not stop the conquest, nor could I hold back death, put forth firm breaks to say just once, just now, remember. In my desperation, I could not speed death, ask haste against a plodding misery, a 30-hour day that lived inside a week, 100 days. I could not do it. No matter what my strategy, hope, pray, deny, despise, I was nothing next to it. All my courage paled, my valor sighed against its vibrant force. I'd look into those eyes that once were food and light to me, and saw instead a darkness, terrible and complete. There was nothing I could do to stop it. The second poem is called The Mountains Near Hyuya. Hyuya is a town in central Puerto Rico where my husband's from. In the mountains near Hyuya, roads twist and zigzag unexpected, leading neophytes to gasp and cross their chests in thanks for light. You taught me how to drive those roads, always hug the mountainside, rein in speed approaching curves, toot the horn in light staccato. Not a honk, no urban sound mixed with anger and frustration, just a friendly rat-tat-tat acknowledgement and warning. You always drove in Puerto Rico, wheel in hand in Massachusetts. New York City used your skills where I would never dare to drive. California weekend trips to Russian River, Stinson Beach, always had you at the helm, careful, cautious, ever kind. I never worried as I watched the trees go by, flamboyant and evergreen, palm trees, eucalyptus. Today I took away your keys and hid them.
It's very powerful. Thank you so much. Next is Tony Copeland Parker.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tony Copeland Parker. I'm caring for my loved one. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at early onset at 53. We've been going through this journey for 9 years. What we did was we became nomads. I wrote my first book about our travels the first 5.5 years. The poem I'm getting ready to read is from the second book, which I'm working on right now. The title of it is Nomads. I refer to my loved one as Cat. Her name is Catherine. Nomads. Why nomads, you might ask? It's impossible to make it last. She has Alzheimer's, so let her be. She needs routine, can't you see? I like to explore, manage, and travel. So what about me? Nomad is a noun with no fixed residence, whereas I am somewhat hesitant. I like peregrinate, which is a verb since we did most by foot. Over the last 8 years, it took all of our loot. If you were to ask me, I don't give a hoot. Marathons were mostly our fare, but none were ever done on a dare. It was ours to spin as we saw fit. I would do it again, since some were spent on beautiful islands such as St. Kitts. Alzheimer's really does not care. It's not like something you would want to share. Everyone's experience is somewhat different, but I can now assure you that the damage is permanent. I once thought I was going to find the elusive cure. Many companies use that hope as their lure. As the disease progresses, we'll have to settle down, but not until sundown. We used to run when the sun would rise. Now it slow walks hand in hand to no one's surprise. We saw and did so many things she will not always remember, but I would not trade away those memories since they now define her. Her beautiful smile and baby blue eyes sparkle remain, but we all now know it will never be the same. They say Alzheimer's cruel joke is called a long goodbye. However, my cat will always know I will never leave her side. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. That was lovely. Next up is Virginia Pascarelli.
Okay, that's me.
Okay.
This is, I feel like you just called my name to see the doctor. My mother had dementia. She started out being diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, which meant loss of language capabilities, sort of like living in Denmark and only speaking English. Of course, it progressed to a more global dementia by the end. This is hard. She passed away almost 12 years ago, and I don't actually like to go back there, which is kind of sad because I kind of lose my mother because I don't want to think of those years. But while we were going through all this, I had joined an online support group and met someone on there named Susie Kaiser Scarf, and her husband had the same diagnosis, and she taught me a lot. I had a billion questions. I was trying to caregive, 960 miles away from my mother. And I didn't know what to do. So she helped me quite a bit. She eventually said that she was writing a book called Dementia, The Journey Ahead. And then she said, would you write some poems for it? And I think she kind of said she needed them right away. And I really don't know why she asked me. And so I scribbled a poem really quickly and sent it to her. And then I thought, maybe this won't be what she's looking for. So I scribbled down about 5 more. And then it turned out that she used them all in her book, and the book was a real book that got published. And I would rewrite all those poems if I had known that they were going to be in that real book and that I was going to be reading 1 or 2 today. I've changed my mind a couple times, but I think I'm just going to read one of the ones where it's an elementary rhyming poem, but my poems were bits and pieces from everybody that I had heard their stories over the years. I had helped with this online Facebook page. So not spoken exactly in my voice, but some of my experiences. This one's called Laughing. My loved one has dementia. It's not easy to laugh. Nothing seems funny when my life's torn in half. What's funny about silence and losing the way? I can hardly get out of bed at the start of each day. But Sometimes I find it the ability to smile, and it makes life bearable for just a while. He couldn't say I love you, but he still said damn. He threw his tennis shoes in the garbage can. He became incontinent. I became the queen of poop. He forgot what a spoon was and used a fork in his soup. He came out of the bedroom with a shirt, but no pants. We had to do some hiding because he tasted the plants. Sometimes I laugh, and I don't even know why, but I know if I didn't, all I would do is cry.
So true. Thank you so much. Sandra Barris?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how are you? You can read if you'd like.
I'd love to read.
Okay.
I'm going to read from Storms of the Inland Sea, but the poem first appeared in Prairie Schooner and is in my collection, Ash on Wind. And there are a whole bunch of poems about Alzheimer's because my mother had that. And as everyone is sharing this, it is the way that we work our way through it, our emotions and our understandings of what's going on. And the poem I'm reading is called Adjustment. And I think it's a very popular one because it was reprinted in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Family Caregivers. It also is an Inland Sea, so it's one that's gone in several places. Adjustment. Late afternoon, mother wanders the corridors of the nursing home. She looks for a way out to a place where she can recognize herself. She's gone from her narrow kitchen, once brightened with pink formica, where she stood for hours in front of her old gas stove, satisfied, stirring stews or soups, roasting chickens. Now she can't boil water, the simplest of tasks. She spends her days wandering through rooms of other patients, filling a shopping bag with treasures, someone's pair of cheap earrings, a borrowed polyester dress 2 sizes too large, a terry cloth robe with tears at the hem. The nurses and I laugh when she says she's tired, having spent the day shopping. But late at night, I can't laugh when she grows restless again and is walking the corridors. She and the others pass each other again and again, trapped like fish in this waterless bowl. Outside are flowers and a bench in the garden where she's not allowed to go. Each night she rehides her purse in a new spot under her mattress, packs earrings, a dress, and a robe in her pillowcase, ready for her escape. I know she's standing by the phone, but she can't remember anyone's number. And if there's time, I'd love to read one later called Clock Shoe that won an award and is in Prairie Schooner's Best of Prairie Schooner. It's very short, but it's one of the first I wrote. But thank you so much. I love being a part of this and sharing and hearing so many similar stories that resonate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it looks like Sarah's iPad is unmuted. Sarah, do you want to? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do Sarah
Can you hear me?
first. Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. I'm from England. So I was felt very honoured to join in with you today. I originally was diagnosed with dementia, but it was later downgraded. I'd had a stroke, but I have got mild cognitive impairment, and creative writing has been such a blessing. This poem is called The Caged Bird Sings, and I wrote it about my friend Justin, who had been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's in his mid-30s. And I met him at a dementia cafe, and we became good friends. The Caged Bird Sings. Inside the bars, the caged bird sings, not high, mellifluous, haunting song, but internal, joyous harmony. The love of its protector has placed him there, not to stifle and constrain, but to heal and redeem, saved from a captivity of misunderstanding, rejection, sorrow. His broken wing at present restrains, incapacitates, hinders, that the glorious day will arise when healing complete, he will fly free and soar to unparalleled heights with voice as strong as the cadence of a waterfall in full flow, tumbling, rushing, wild. True freedom comes with a price, and that has been paid in full for him. I've got another one here that I support the Alzheimer's Society, and they have a poetry competition every couple of years. I've never won it, but I usually get a mention. And this one is called They Speak with Another Language. They speak another language when words have slipped away. They speak another language when the music starts to play. He takes her hand and lifts it, beckons her to stand, then with a forceful flourish, he signals to the band. Some music comes like waterfalls, majestic, strong and deep. Some music in brook, refreshing, gentle, meek. The music that they love the best is the kind that starts the thaw of a frozen mind benumbed by dementia's isomer. It warms them from the inside, yet they wear it like a cloak. Together as they slowly waltz, her hand his cheek does stroke. The tempo quickens, changes, giving the mind its wings to fly and soar above all else. A present moment brings a flash of recognition. Light illuminates her brain, and she sees that she is holding her first love once again. I know you. Yes, I know you. I've known you all my life. I am, she falters, hesitates. I am your darling wife.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you
so much for joining us.
It's been an honor and a pleasure.
And I know that it's later in the evening where you are tonight, so thank you so much for being here. Polly Peterson?
Yep. There, that works better.
Okay.
I'm on vacation. And I still wanted to be with you. I do have a poem, whether I can get to it or not, we'll see. It's a poem that I wrote for my dad. My dad had dementia. He had vascular dementia, and he acted out, and it was a very interesting journey. And I wanted to write a poem for my book, River of Dementia. So if I can find it, I will try now. I don't know what's going to happen. Let me see. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Upon Reflection of Dementia. A little snow melt trickle winks and twinkles in the sun, dancing down the packed and piney forest floor. It skips childlike to meet the other trickle children running faster on the gentle hill, to jump and splash together over rocky slopes and merge with becks and brooks and rivulets in growing stream. Rushing down the incline with abandon till the descent steepens, droplets lose control and fly in the air while falling into deep and darkening pools. The pools reflect the blackened sky and rise to overflowing as the rain joins in and splatters mountain slope and sapling, forest flowers, and all elements beneath the anger canopy, and lightning stamps the universe. The storm abates, the sun streaks through the clouds, the water shouts with freedom, bounding off cliff's edge, leaps into space, lands unified in icy lake. Floating silently through inlets, armlets, coves, and bays, typical of flowing bodies yielding to the current's pull, tickled by the gilded lakefish, flitting in their emerald home, the drops, united, move past mudslide, tangled trees, and boulders, toward the spillways beckoning. The ever-moving water rushes over weir and down the flume, out to the mighty mother river, moving slowly toward the coast. Falls and rapids check the progress, flip and toss, creating chaos. Roiling loss, confusion follow as the river rolls along. Finally, surf of salty ocean meets the coursing surge downstream, and the single little droplet vanishes in open sea. And that's a metaphor for my dad's voyage down the river of dementia.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. Okay, so
Thank you.
yes, that's great. I'm so glad you came on your vacation too. That's wonderful.
Yep.
So we're going to start, I guess, the second round now. I believe everybody has had their chance. So we're going to go to Sue for Reese.
Thank you for having me back. And this is so heartwarming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is so necessary. This poem is called Caregiver. I wrote it in 1991, 92, so it still rings true. Caregiver. I, your loving caregiver, need my own care as well, so I can be your guiding strength, hearing stories you may tell, and follow when you wander, and take the lead at times, answering your many questions, listening to your words and rhymes. I, your loving caregiver, need time alone for me to relieve my stress from worry, so your support I can be. Whether I should write a poem or take a bubble bath or go and see a movie or walk along some path or call a friend and chat a while or a big hug receive or scream and yell from frustration, this time I really need. Please don't misunderstand me. I wear my ribbon with pride. You know you're very special to me, and my love for you I'll not hide. Just one more thought I ponder, a wish I will convey. Through all the trials and tribulations, don't fear. I remain your caregiver today.
Oh, thank you so much. I think a lot of caregivers can resonate with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Felicia Mitchell.
Thank you. I'm going to read a poem I wrote early on when I began witnessing early on my mother's dementia. And it's from a different book, Waltzing with Horses, earlier, and I will put that. And I guess it explains itself, but it's interesting very early on when simple things just fall away. So I remember biscuits. This is how it begins. The long decline to a time when a sweet potato becomes a novelty and bread crust make a woman marvel at the cleverness of bread. Before milk turns to water or Brussels sprouts to something inedible, biscuits can make as much sense as newsprint. Cooking up a pan is like opening your eyes or shutting the kitchen door at night and locking it before bed and going to sleep in an old cotton gown. There are some things a person can do with her eyes closed, like pray or measure flour or wait 12 minutes for biscuits to rise in a hot oven. And then she can't. She just can't remember some things, not where to write a row of numbers or what to wear to bed or how to put together 5 basic things: flour, salt, baking powder, shortening, and milk. It goes from there. It goes. A person can live without biscuits. Years can pass without numbers that figure or sweet potato souffle. But I wish I could go back in time to a day my mother remembered biscuits and write everything down.
Thank you so much. That's very moving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's funny how it all comes back.
Yes. Yeah, words
Not
are very
funny.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard to live without biscuits.
Yes.
Mhm.
Just memorializing our loved ones in this way is just mind-boggling. Mary Crescenzo, you wanted
Can
to?
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, I just want to say that I am so honored to be a fellow ALZ author. Thank you for this amazing and powerful day. This last poem I'll read is named Minnie, and Minnie was a resident at one of the care communities. I can't understand why visitors seem sad beneath their smiles. Here, I have more people to talk with in a day than I've ever had before. No trips to the doctor, they make house calls here. No pets allowed where I used to live. Here, a house dog visits me every day. There's a beauty parlor, we have church services, we're served meals in the dining room. I hardly ate at my own place. Who wants to eat alone? Here we play games, we paint, we sit in the garden. There's no laundry to wash, no clothes to iron. I don't even need money here, although I do carry a purse, you know, for tissues, photos, saltines I pick up from the tables. They polish my nails, they help me dress. I can't tell you how many years I went out with my zipper half zipped. I have a boyfriend. The last time I had one of those, I can't even remember. I had 3 husbands, but they don't count. I can't tell you my address, and please don't ask me my name. I'm not even sure where I am, but I just know I'm not alone. And isn't being alone worse than anything else?
I love that. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yes. Marion Cohen.
Now I'm here.
Okay, there you are.
I was busy unmuting. Somehow that takes a while. This poem is from our anthology, Storms. It's
Mhm.
also in that book that I mentioned before of mine. It's called The Last Love Poem for Jeff. Jeff was my first husband. The poem that I think I didn't mention was about my first husband. The Last Love Poem for Jeff. And it's a rhyming poem, by the way. You are my only you, my Winnie the Pooh, my diddly-do. Of all the animals in the zoo, I choose the U, E-W-E, I mean the U. Of all the trees in Kalamazoo, I choose the U, Y-E-W, I mean the U. Of all the letters old and new, I choose the U, I mean U, Y-O-U. Of all the functions F of U, I choose the identity, just plain you. Ghosts say boo, cows say moo, but who says you? Only you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. Sandra Barris, one more time.
Yes, thank you. When my mother had not quite been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but we suspected it, we contacted the Alzheimer's Association, and they said to give her the test of drawing a clock. So this is what happened. It's called the clock shoe. Mother can't remember who I am. Talks in riddles, shifts place and time mid-sentence. Her body looks the same. Her face under a tent of tidy gray hair, sweet, alert, yet wild-eyed. Of the memories we shared and used to laugh about, I have my half only. She thinks she's in trouble with her mother for staying out too late with a girlfriend, both long dead. Today, when I visit mother, she opens the door a crack. She calls me aside to ask, "Who is that man? He's very nice and I don't want to hurt his feelings," as she points to my father. But I really must have him leave now. They've been wed for 50 years. I give her that simple Alzheimer's test, the task of drawing a clock face with paper and pencil, but she ponders, a clock? And stalls. I could draw a violin, she says. A clock sits on the table in front of her, and she deftly draws a shoe. A clock shoe. We laugh and begin a new set of memories that will last her only for minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sue Fagaldi Lick.
You got it.
I got it.
I love the clock shoe. I think we need a laugh. This is called memory care. The aides serve ice cream every day, and every day the residents are surprised at this new treat. Handed bowls of vanilla scooped from tubs, they stare at the white mounds floating there. Some poke it with dirty fingers, spilling ice cream over the sides, while others bend and lick it like a cat. Some just set it down. One man, we'll call him Frank, with just one tooth, grabs a handful, makes a snowball, and throws it at the TV set, where it slithers down the screen over Haas on the old Bonanza show. Bingo, cries an old lady with an ice cream mustache.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful. The last is Renee Terry now I can't say it. Renee Terry Mucci. And she will be
better than what I've been called before.
She'll be our last reader.
The way it's spelled, sometimes they say Reenie Mucky.
Okay.
That's really bad.
Oh,
So
boy.
this one, and again, this is such a wonderful, wonderful platform that you have for all of us to, I am nervous to watch this back because I tried to look semi-decent and I have not looked decent throughout the whole thing. Everything just makes me cry. I lost my mom in 2019. I lost my husband in 2020. And so this is a recent poem called Set It Down. And it's not just about dementia, but it's about the strength that we as the caregivers to our loved ones, that we have to carry on every day. Life is heavy, set it down. There is no need to carry around all we struggle every day, remembering all we had to say. For as we travel through our life, we will encounter pain and strife. Addressing each still as they come, we'll find resolve, at least with some. Yet others will remain and stay, returning for another day. It's those that we must find a place, and then somehow move on with grace. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
The Memory Game by Paul Cannon Harris. I don't know how to play. Have I played before? Have I? What's its name? The Memory Game. How do we play? I've not played before, have I? What's it called again? You told me. Sorry. Memory Game. I don't know how to play. It's a memory game, isn't it? See, I remembered. That's a turn up for the books. You explain how it works. Turn up 2 cards. I see. Then what? Turn them back over looking for a match. Is it my turn? How many do I turn over? 2. You did say, didn't you? Have I had my lunch yet? I don't recall. My turn again? 2 cards. A big yellow flower. I've had that before. Sunflower. That's what it's called. I remember now. We had another one before. Where was it? Don't tell me. It'll come in a bit. Where was it? Sunflowers. I remember. France, 1955. September. Picnic on the edge of a field. Wine and pâté. Then he proposed to me. What's this game called again?
Hello,
I'm Danny Potts, Dr. Daniel C. Potts. I'm a neurologist from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I'm so thankful to be asked to be involved in this wonderful event sponsored by AlzAuthors, Poetry for the Dementia Journey. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, but I was asked to share a poem of mine, and I've chosen one called You Chose to Listen. My father, Lester, had Alzheimer's disease, and I, a neurologist, was a supplementary caregiver for him. And Lester's art inspired me to write poetry, and I've continued to do so over the past 15 years or so, and write about 2 or 3 a week. A lot of the poetry that I write seeks to join the dementia journey from an empathetic position, either speaking in a voice of someone living with dementia like my dad, or speaking from a caregiver's point of view, or a third person. This particular poem, You Chose to Listen, is featured in my new book, Bringing Art to Life, from Resource Publications, a book of both stories and poetry. And it's about visiting someone living with dementia. You know, visits can be hard, as I'm sure many of you know. If we think a person may not remember that we were there, we may ask why to go. If we find it hard within ourselves to get to that place where we can feel comfortable visiting, it's just a tough thing, but it can be a very, very rewarding thing, and I believe it's a very important and essential thing for us to do, even if we think someone can't remember that we came. So this poem is from the standpoint of someone living with dementia, and it's about a visit that someone paid to them, and it's about the person that made the visit. You chose to listen. I know you must have been busy. I'm sure you stay that way. I suspect there may have been others who needed you today. But for me, you made one decision, a solitary choice, that changed the color of the world and gave me back my voice. My mind's been gripped by confusion. My memory forgets. I likely won't recall the names of faceless silhouettes. But there's nothing wrong with my feelings, like sadness and pain and joy. There are sheltered spaces in us all dementia can't destroy. So my memory has just recorded with the contours of your face a true sense of validation, familiarity, and place. A profound yet nameless knowing, relational and real, simply because you cared about how your actions made me feel. There among the busy bodies, brushing by my chair, you chose to stop and listen for the soul behind the stare. When I saw your kind intentions to truly understand, it was as if some hidden part of me went reaching for a hand that love seemed to be extending through your presence and your pause. And I feel the gifts that love extends, it never yet withdraws. In choosing to listen to me, you did something else quite rare. You decided to see what still remains of the person sitting there, to regard with respect and compassion and perhaps a sense of awe the sacred eternal sanctum of the suffering self you saw. In this no one's land of confusion, you brought a sense of peace, of trust and vulnerability, expression and release. So my spirit came out of hiding in the space between us two, and the air between your eyes and mine turned to the warmest shade of blue, like an iridescent ocean in backwater of the mind, a place I long to sit beside, but rarely now can find. Please know how deeply thankful that I am that you stopped by. If I thought about it long enough, I suspect that I would cry. But the tears would not be tears of grief, but of gratitude you came. For your listening has reminded me, love will not forget my name. Thank you for letting me share today, and best wishes to all of you.
This poem is called Hold On To Me, and it comes from my book, Our Dementia Journey. When I can't find my way, hold on to me. When I am lost, hold on to me. When we are in crowds, hold on to me. When we are alone, hold on to me. When I'm unsteady on my feet, hold on to me. When I just need a seat, hold on to me. When I forget who people are, hold on to me. When I forget who you are, hold on to me. When I can't see things properly, hold on to me. When I get things wrong, hold on to me. When I get angry and shout, hold on to me. When I forget what it's all about, hold on to me. When it's time to go to bed, hold on to me. When it's time to get up, hold on to me. When I'm scared, hold on to me. Forever and always, dear Dad, I hold on to you. But one thing I ask, please, dear Lord, anchor me. This poem is called The Dementia Winds, from my book, Poems for People Who Care. The dementia winds blow through Dad's mind, our family, our home. Gently, at first, softly blowing a few memories away, and more and more and more as time goes on. Invisible, but always there. The winds can be winds of change. Some bring periods of seeming calm or sleep. Then the winds come from a different direction, catching us unawares. The winds blow stronger, letting us know they are still there, creating emotion, strange behaviours, frustration, anger, argument. Then they drop down again, leaving sadness, tears, guilt. The only way to keep the dementia winds at bay is to wrap a family blanket of love round Dad. Then the winds drop down, but never go away.
Far away. Pictures taped on the wall, tenderly showing sequence. Panties before skirt, socks before shoes. Set me to wondering what an Alzheimer's mind feels like inside. Scrolling back to childhood, where daughters seem sisters, deja vu's cobweb, and sleepwalkers startle and wake under slow, snowy lampposts, where I think I must know you, but your name dissolves like tissue in a tub. Such a mind, a stalwart mule refusing the harness and cart, ox cart, oxo cubes, hugs and kisses. Signatures flattened to a scrawl, and this was once poetry, with words like luminous and... They say you stew in your own juices. If you were sweet, you thicken. If sour, then old Snape sucking on a lemon. How is it amnesia doesn't wipe away language? The life story forgotten, but not the words. We lost the way, but not the meaning. I am lost. Aren't we all? And to be shuffling down the corridor, vague as melting clocks, dilly-dally, daily times and dill pickles, doorknobs, opening the tin and sons become brothers, names fall away like flesh from soup stock bones. Lily-pad thoughts float on murky ponds, white and clean as these daisies on the gurney, chalky like the nurse's sensible shoes, but somehow those fingernails on slate, black hole sucking in everything like a hoover, 8-ball rebounding but never sunk. And sometimes, after long, long days of staring at nothingness. Oh, lemon squares.
I do have some comments to say just thank you for attending this AlzAuthors live event. It was really moving and meaningful. And I'm sure when people see the video and listen to the recording on the podcast, we're going to reach many, many more hearts and souls, and your words will live on that way. So that's really something to look forward to. So details for our future events are posted on our website and our email to our followers. And you can be among the first to know everything new at AlzAuthors as a subscriber to our weekly newsletter. Be sure to visit our blog, our podcast, bookstore, and shop at AlzAuthors.com to find more resources for your dementia journey or for someone you know who may also be having the experience. Our whole platform is about sharing. So we count on others to help share for us. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We share a wealth of resources for the dementia journey. Feel free to use them, to share them, to use them for your own content on your own platforms. We want people to remember that you are not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but we chose to form a choir and create harmony. Thank you so much for being here. Anybody have any?
Thank you so much.
Let's all clap because it was so
Thank
great.
you very much.
Yeah, so great.
Appreciate being a part of this.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Absolutely.
came.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really we didn't know what to expect, right, Anne?
We had no idea, but with poets, it's always something special.
Yeah, it was very special, I think. Yeah, sharing experiences through words is so important to people on the journey, even the ones who don't know it yet. So we really appreciate having you all here and sharing your stories. They are just so inspiring and incredible. Some of the stories here are just absolutely incredible. So thank you all.
I'd love to add that poetry really does capture the inexpressible and the emotions that you deal with when you're dealing with Alzheimer's. That is one of the things that is hard to just grasp. And so poetry is such a wonderful way to really share that. So thank you so much for everyone.
And if I can add something, you just made me think of this. Poetry is its own language in a sense. There are no periods, commas, it's its own space, and yet we can still understand so profoundly. And like Alzheimer's has its own language, and we write our own. Everyone, you know what I'm saying? And so yet we can find a way to connect, just like with poems. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I just say that I also write short stories, and I'm writing a book at the moment. It's monologues of things that have happened to me. It's going to be called Cooking by Kindlelight, but you can actually read that story it's called Before the Diagnosis, and it was compiled and edited by Jinsey Hines.
Oh yes,
she's one of our.
And you'll find my story is the last one in the book.
Which one are you in? The first book or the second book?
Oh, I think it's the second.
I'm in the second one.
Yeah, more stories of life, love before dementia. Yeah, so it's the last one in the book, and it's just a cheerful story that I go around and give talks to the Women's Institute in the UK, and yeah, I just like to share and help them understand a bit more about dementia. So
that's awesome.
Great.
Right. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Anne. Thanks for all your help today.
Oh, glad to.